Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Melanie Angtarina, and today my friend Anggra Tanikan Pratiwi and I we will present you about adjective and adverb. We have already shared our material in two sections. In the first section, I gonna discuss about adjective, and in the second section, my friend Niken, she she will present you or discuss about adverb. So I hope that all of you enjoy this video or presentation. And adjective, in adjective I divide in the four section or part. Number one, distinction property of prototypical adjective, and two, I compare adjective with noun, verb, and determinative, and third, gradable and non-gradable structure, and adjective restrict to attributive or predicative function, and the last section is other function of adjective phrase.
Adjective. Adjectives are words that's used to give, express, or describe property or object, person, place, and etc. For example, the soup is hot. Hot is adjective, and Mila was jealous. Distinctive properties of prototypical adjective. Prototypical adjective in English have the following three properties. And function. In function, attributive use the adjective function as modifier and two following noun in non-phrase structure. And predicative use the adjective function as predicative complement. For example, in attributive black eyes, and in predicative the soup is hot. And great. Great, the either inflex of great showing the contrast between plain, comparative, and superlative, or else from comparative and superlative adjective praise marked by more and most. For example, Kim is old, and in comparative Kim is older than Mia, and superlative Kim is oldest of them all. And modification, they can be modified usually by adverb. For example, too young. Too is adverb. Adjective versus verb. Inflection and grid. Verb have preterite and third person form, and adjective have comparative and superlative form. And for example, in verb, I love you more, and in adjective, I more appreciate than you. Jadi perbedaannya di inflection adalah verb menggunakan preterite, sedangkan adjective menggunakan comparative dan superlative. Penggunaan tata bahasanya, jika menggunakan more diletakkan setelah verb, dan di adjective, more diletakkan sebelum adjective. And modifier, I very love her and I'm very fond of her. Unlike noun, verb take literally the same modifier as adjective. Nevertheless, there are some adverbs that can modify adjective, but not in verb. Not all adjectives are semantically compatible with the degree modifier with very, to, and pretty. They have to denote a property that can hold to a greater or lesser extent. We call a scalar property. For this adjective that do denote scalar property, the degree modification in this example provide a very clear indication of their status of adjective as opposed to verb. And function. A major difference between verb and adjective is that verb function as predicator head and clause structure, whereas adjective do not. In their predicative use, adjective occur not as predicator but as complement to a verb such as be, become, seen, and etc. For example, in verb you enjoy it, and adjective you seem appreciated. Adjective versus noun. The adjective has comparative and superlative form while the noun has a plural inflection. For example, noun judge, size, silk and superlative judge, size and silks. An adjective in plural wise, peaks, smooth and superlative is wise, peaks and smooth. Not all nouns have plural form and not all adjectives have a comparative and superlative form, but where the form to exceed the difference between noun and adjective is particularly clear. Minor. Noun takes determiner as modifier but adjective do not. For example, which as and which wise. And modifier. Noun and adjective take different kind of modifier. Noun take adjective as modifier and adjective take adverb as modifier. For example, a remarkable, just, and remarkably wise. Only noun occur as head of a phrase in subject or object function. For example, the just arrived and I like silk. Determiner. The distinction between adjective and determinative is not sharply drawn as like adjective and noun or adjective and verb. Nevertheless, the definite article and the indefinite article a differ strongly from prototypical adjective with respect to both syntax and meaning. One, the article can be obligatory in a phrase with a singular noun as head must have a determinative, and the article non-gradable and cannot be used predicative. And other item can be assigned to determinative category by virtue of having one or more the following property. Noun cannot occur with article and article don't occur with them. They can occur as the only prehead dependent of singular consingular noun and occur as first head in partitive construction. For example, in determinative, she gave me the same apple, and adjective, he gave me a good apple. In this example, determinative is not immiscible because some cannot follow the. And other example, some guy called to see you and good guy called to see you. In this example, guy is singular noun and must require a determiner such as some. Gradable and non-gradable. Gradable. These adjectives are often called gradable adjectives because they can be used in comparative or superlative form or with grading adverbs such as very or extremely to show that a person or thing has more or less of particular quality. Properties like those expressed by big, small, bad, old, dirty, angry, good. Example, a little big, very big, extremely big, and quite big. Adjectives describe quality that are complete present or complete absent. They do not occur in comparative and superlative and cannot be used with adverbs such as very or extremely because we don't usually imagine degree of more or less quality being described. And the not a non-circular property non-gradable use absolute or completely. For example, in non-gradable, the food was absolutely served. And to compare gradable and non-gradable, for example, a very public quarrel is gradable and in the public interest is non-gradable. Adjective complement and predicative adjunct. In complement, adjective or adjective phrase generally function as complement at clause structure and can occur in complex sentence like complex intransitive or complex transitive clause. For example, the suggestion is ridiculous is intransitive clause and I consider the suggestion ridiculous is transitive clause. And adjunct. Adjunct is a word or phrase that amplifies or completes the predicate of the sentence. Predicative adjective phrase can be adjunct. Adjective is related to a predicate, the suggestion which is subject in the complex intransitive contraction and object in the complex transitive contraction. In addition to being complement mentioned by head predicative, adjective can be adjunct. Compare for example, X was unwilling to accept this term, and predicative adjunct unwilling to accept this term Max resigned. In adjective phrase is complement designed by the verb, but in adjunct with no solutioning. Adjective restrict to attributive or predicative function. Attributive only, which cannot be used predicative, for example, our future prospect and their own fault. And never attributive is it can occur predicative but not attributively. For example, the children were asleep and the boys seemed afraid, and the street a play certain scene of like Sam. Only the scene illustrates that underlying adjective are attributive only and never attributive. And structural. Attributive adjective mostly cannot contain depend or follow the head but allowed only on predicatively. Example, she was cautioned to access, and in attributive, a caution to access manager. Uh, there are few posts had can occur with attributive in then and enough. For example, in enough is the house was big enough, and in attributive a big enough house. Enough is a low quite general after gradable adjective. Other function of adjective phrase, past positive. Function in non-phrase structure as post-head internal modifier. There are three cases to consider. Number one is everything useful and those responsible. The example have fused determiner head, making it impossible for the adjective to occur in the usual prehead position. And number two, report for errors. The modifier in this example with inadmissible in the prehead position because the adjective has its own post-head depends. And number three, the one else have only modification possible and the president-elect. Example, possible can also be attributive, whereas asleep or as we have seen cannot. Elect meaning recently elect but not in office is one of very small number of exceptional adjectives that occur only positively. An external modifier. Certain form where adjective occur right the beginning of the non-phrase before the indefinite article a. And example number one is how long a delay with Darby and he chosen to dark color. And number two, it seems such a bargain and what a fool I was. One tip are adjective containing how, as, so, to, this or that as modifier. And in example number two, there are two adjectives that can appear.
Okay, thank you very much. And now in this section, I would like to discuss about adverb, and there are three components that I'm gonna discuss about it. First, adverbs as modifiers of categories other than the noun, and then second, adverbs versus adjectives, and the last is the structure of adverbial phrase. And now we move to the next slide to discuss about what is adverb and the others. Thank you. So, what is adverbs? Adverbs is the fourth and last of categories of lexemes that we call open. The categories with high and readily expandable membership. The main thing that makes the adverb category open is that such a high proportion of adverbs are morphologically derived from adjective by adding the suffix "ly." It is with these related adjective-adverb pairs that we can see most clearly the contrast between the modifiers of noun and verb. Here, double underlining marks the head word and single underlining marks the modifier. And the first is modifiers of noun as adjective, and the second is modifiers of verb as the adverb. Now, we talk about modifiers of noun. For example, a happy family, a greedy child, and a passionate lover. Happy, greedy, and also passionate as the adjectives are used as the modifiers of the noun. And now we talk about modifiers of verb. For example, they all lived happily ever after. And the child devoured it greedily. And they loved each other passionately. The word happily, greedily, and also passionately as the adverb are used as the modifiers of the verb. Now we talk about adverbs as modifier of other categories than the noun. We have two boxes, and in the left box we have adjective, verb, and adverb, and in the right box we have determinatives, prepositional phrase, and noun phrase. Now we talk about the left box first. It virtually evaporated. Virtually as the adverb is used as modifiers of the verb evaporated, and then it was virtually impossible. Virtually as the adverb is used as the modifiers of adjective impossible. Yes, impossible. And then he was wounded almost fatally. Almost as the adverb is used as the modifier of the adverb fatally. And now we move to the right box about determinatives, prepositional phrase, and noun phrase. First, virtually all copies are torn. Virtually as the adverb is used to modify the determinative of all. Yes, all. And then I did it virtually by myself. Virtually as the adverb is used as modifiers of prepositional phrase by myself, and I pulled almost the last copy. Almost as the adverbs is used as the modifier of noun phrase the last copy. I'm sorry. And now we talk about adverbs versus adjectives. The crucial distinction between adverbs and adjectives is this a matter of function. Most adjectives can function as predicative complement as well as noun modifier, but adverbs don't normally occur in this function. The difference is most easily seen by taking adjective-adverb pairs related by "ly." For example, in the left box we have modifiers, and in the right box we have predicative complement. And A is an adjective and B is an adverb. Now we talk about first example. A, an impressive performance. Impressive as the adjective is used as the modifiers of the noun performance. And then for predicative complement, we have her performance was impressive. Yes, here impressive can be used as predicative complement because it is adjective. And now we talk about B. She performed impressively. We can use the word impressively as the adverb to modify the verb of performed. And in B, we can see that her performance was impressively. Yes, we couldn't say her performance was impressively because adverb couldn't be used as the predicative complement. Yes, impressive and impressively can both function as modifiers, as what I have already explained in the previous, that they both impressive and impressively can function as modifier, but only adjective, yes, but only impressive can be used as predicatively. And now we talk about overlap between categories. In the adjective and adverb, sometimes we do find some overlap between them. For example, adjective and adverb. In the first example, their early departure, and then in the indirect sentence we have they departed early. The meaning is same, while in the others it is different. And now we have the next sentence, we have the very day. And in the next sentence, we have it is very good. The adjective very, for example, means something like particular. It is for the adjective, for the sentence of that very day, yes, means something like particular. It emphasizes the identity of the day, that one day or not any other. And for the adverb, that the sentence of it was very good, the adverb very means approximately, extremely. Yes, it is. This means extremely. And in the last example, we have I don't feel well, and in the right we have I don't play well. For the adjective I don't feel well, in the adjective, it means in good health. Yes, it means in good health. While for the adverb, means in a good way or to a good standard. And now we talk about addition of li that sometimes forms adjectives, no adverb. In particular, there are some adjectives that are formed from noun in this way. For instance, in the left we have noun, and in the right we have adjective. Yes. And for example, man becomes manly, prince becomes princely, coward becomes courtly, friend becomes friendly, peace becomes bristly, death becomes deadly. Some of us perhaps ever think that friendly is an adverb, but now we realize that friendly is an adjective. In the previous knowledge, both of them they can function attributively and predicatively, but don't modify verbs, as illustrated for princely. For attributive use, we can use the word of princely like a princely book. It means that it is very good or very beautiful. And then we can use predicative use. For example, like those pictures were princely. And then for modifying verb, we can say she performed princely. It is because princely as the adjective, so we couldn't use princely as the adjective to modify the verb. And now we talk about the structure of adverbial phrase. The structure of adverbial phrase is similar to that of adjective phrase, but somewhat it is simpler. Dependent can be divided into complements and modifiers. Here in the left box we have complement, and in the right box we have modifiers. For example, first, purchase of state vehicles is handled similarly to all state purchases. In one type, the adverb licenses the same kind of complement as the adjective from which it is formed. Compare like we talked, for example, you can see in the book page 125, purchase of state vehicles is similar to all state purchases. Other adverb of this kind with the preposition, certain preposition, they can go with shown in parentheses. Include like separately from, or independently of, or equally with. And the second sentence we have happily for the boys, the class was cancelled. A few adverbs such as heavily in take complements that are not licensed by a corresponding adjective with a matching sense. Like we talk like this, you can see in the book, the cancellation of the class was happy for the boys. And now we talk about modifiers. As what I have already said in the first, that adverb also function as modifiers to adjective, and good many modify other adverb as well. And here we have some example for, like in the first, she sang very well. Well as the adverb used as the modifiers of adverb very. And then second, I didn't do it that well. Well as the adverb is used as the modifiers of determinative that. And then they behaved badly in the extreme. Badly as the adverb is used as the modifiers of prepositional phrase in the extreme. And the last we have, we arrived 3 hours late. Late is adverb, and it used as modifiers of the noun phrase 3 hours. That's all. And thank you very much. I hope that you can understand. So thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.